Breaking news, breaking news. The GOP have had another person to abandon the ship. First of all, welcome to another episode of Black Ice 73. I'm Black Ice 73. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share. Let the people know that I'm out here. Today, this is breaking news fresh off the Fox News press. Mitt Romney ain't here for President Trump. He said he voted to convict him. And y'all can kiss his butt. Mitt Romney said, I'm rich. I ain't stunned that jump, man. If I don't believe it, I don't believe it. He said his conscience. So he had to follow his conscience on voting to convict President Trump. I got a little clip, a little article right here. But I'm going to play the audio first. Here you go. Come on, audio. We're having technical difficulties. The audio will be coming up soon. I don't know why. What happened? We were ready to go. Then all of a sudden, like, I'm gonna make you like a fool. Come on there. Play the audio. Audio play. I think it's about to play. Looking frozen. Speaking of frozen, Midwest, Northeast, it about to be colder for y'all again. Down south, for us, man, they're saying we expecting severe weather, flooding and stuff from might start tonight up into Thursday morning. Then might start again later on this weekend. So the severe weather ain't over with yet. And plus, since the audio is not ready to play, I'm gonna read some of this article. Maybe if stop making me look like an idiot. It says Senator Mitt Romney, a Republican from Utah, told Fox News Chris Wallace Wednesday in an exclusive interview that he had to follow his mind. He said, I quote, I had to follow my conscience, end quote, in deciding to vote to convict President Trump on abuse of power, a decision that likely to ignite serious blowback for Trump, where blowback from Trump and others in the Republican Party. If you follow politics like I do, and like others do, we already know that Mitt Romney don't fool with Trump. Trump been throwing shots at Mitt Romney for a long time. So Mitt Romney likes, I got some stuff on you. I don't hate you, but I hate you. You know Mitt Romney, he a Mormon, but he also a politician. So he a Mormon in Utah. He petty in DC. Mitt Romney said, I ain't studying that junk. Kick my butt. He quote, I believe that the act he took and the effort to corrupt the election is a discretion and an attack on the oath of office in our Constitution as it can be imagined, Romney said. And he quote again, it is a high crime and a misdemeanor within the meaning of the Constitution, and that is not a decision I take lightly. It is the last decision I want to take, end quote. Then Romney later told Wallace, I had to follow my conscience when asked about the likely blowback from Trump. After I tell you what Mitt Romney's quote was, I'm going to translate what he really meant. He said, I understand there are going to be enormous consequences, he said, and I don't have the choice in the regard. That's why. That's why I haven't been in the position I'm in. Robin said, kissing posterior is not the reason he's a politician. He said he ain't had to kiss nobody but to be a politician. And he ain't started kissing nobody but now. He like Donald Trump don't make me and Donald Trump don't break me. I was a darn senator before Donald Trump became president. I ran for president. I failed, but I came back senator, and I still a senator. So Donald Trump, you don't want none. You did. Yeah, he old, so you got to say you did. So that's the translation of what Mitt Romney actually said. You ain't ready for this, Donald. So Mitt is not voting to convict Trump on obstruction of Congress, which was one of the two impeachment articles passed by the House of Representatives. He is splitting his vote to convict Trump on the abuse of power article. So the former Republican nominee for president also said he's a deep Mormon faith played a wait, apologize. He said his deep Mormon faith played a significant role in his decision. When Waters asked Romney, uh, hold on, let me take the call quick. Hello, I'm doing good. How you doing, Pat? Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Oh, you know, me and Celeste a team. We got you. How you doing? Okay. Y'all done a lot of celebration? Well, a lot of celebrating. Oh, that is so sweet. That's all right. So the children gonna take it from you. Oh, okay. So you're gonna put up your guard this time, like, nah, this mine. Oh, okay. So me, so Dora gonna take that one. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I understand that. So what you and the family gonna do? Okay. Oh, okay. I understand that then. Well, I hope you enjoy yourself. Yeah, I just heard some thunder in the background not too long ago. All right, birthday lady. Have a good day. Now I'll talk to you later. All right, later, Pat. Sorry for that, but today is my sweetie sister's birthday. So back to this. Ryman said that's why I haven't been. Okay. The former Republican nominee for president also said his deep Mormon faith played a significant role in his decision. When White asked Ryman about Trump's reaction to his comment last year, saying that the Mueller report sickened him, Ryman said that and any political benefit he would gain for voting to acquit Trump abuse of power would not overtake his faith in the oath he took when he began sworn as a senator at the impeachment trial. This sucker's still buffing. Can you believe that? Remember, Mitt said, man, I swore on the oath, so that's what I'm gonna do. I ain't gonna treat him no better than anybody else. Democrat, Republicans, I don't care. All right, here we go. Audio. Thanks for talking with us.
Chris. Good to be with you. You decided to vote to convict the president, but you knew that it wasn't going to pass. So I guess the direct question is, do you believe that Donald Trump is unfit to serve as president and should be removed from office? I believe that the act he took, an effort to corrupt an election, is as destructive an attack on the oath of office and our Constitution as I can imagine. It is a high crime and misdemeanor within the meaning of the Constitution, and that is not a decision I take lightly. It is the last decision I want to take. The personal consequences, the political consequences that fall on me as a result of that are going to be extraordinary. But I swore an oath before God, and I'm a religious person, that I would apply impartial justice. And applying impartial justice said what the president did was grievously wrong. And I had to vote if I was going to live with my own conscience in a way that was consistent with that oath of office. Again, do you believe that Donald Trump is unfit to serve as president and should be removed from office? I do believe he should be removed from office. That's the vote that I will take in just a short while. I want to go through the two main
breaking
arguments.
news, people. The breaking news. Cause earlier on, there were just some people saying they were speculating that they might get some Republicans to jump ship. But Mitt Romney, so ain't no speculating here. I don't care what y'all think. Y'all don't understand how important this is right here. When it comes to news and stuff like that, y'all don't understand how important it is. It's a rarity that a Republican would go against a Republican president. The same thing for a Democrat who in Senate or in the House will go against a Democratic president. So the distaste Mitt Romney have for President Trump really is showing right here. Cause if y'all don't know, like I said moments ago, that Mitt Romney ran for president and he lost. And President Trump was throwing that junk in his face. You know, calling him loser Romney, and you can't get it right, Romney. So Mitt Romney like, okay, now I see the opportunity that I can bring you down. Even though he already know that the Republicans had more votes than the Democrat, even though with him. But he just showing the Republican or showing Donald Trump, I don't support you. And then if Dick Cheney was still alive, he was a Republican senator too. If Dick Cheney was still alive, they'd been having 2 votes to impeach Donald Trump. Because Dick Cheney couldn't stand him neither. Because Dick Cheney, he was a Navy vet, used to be a pilot, go Navy. And Dick Cheney airplane got shot out of the air in Vietnam. So Dick Cheney got captured. He was a POW. And, you know, they were honoring Dick Cheney. So President Trump said, we shouldn't be honoring no man who got captured in war. Yeah, sure. What'd he do? He was a prisoner of war. We shouldn't be honoring him. In other words, President Trump saying he was a failure. He failed his mission. He got caught. So Dick Cheney couldn't stand him. His daughter can't stand him. No. So if Dick Cheney were here, they might would have had enough votes to impeach President Trump. Cause I know 2 ladies, they were talking about it. And then he got Mitt Romney, and they just needed 1 more vote. They would have gotten him out. They would have got him out of here. Yeah. And he said, Dick Cheney quoted, yeah, again, I can't let personal consideration, if you will, overwhelm my conscience and overwhelm my oath to God, Romney said. I mean, this is for me. Wait, yeah. And well, it's the most difficult decision I ever made in my life. Never been nothing that compared to this. There's a dude named Representative Alan Sheff. He's a Democrat from California, one of the House impeachment managers. He congratulated Romney on his decisions to convict Trump on one of the two impeachment articles the House passed, saying it shows a lot of morals and courage. He said it's like Romney will face back with blowback from both Republican voters in his deep red state of Utah and the other Republican members of Congress for his vote to convict Trump. He told Waters he was ready for the repercussion. Told you what Mitt said. Mitt said, I made it here. I've been here a long time. I'm a millionaire. Not a millionaire, I'm a multi-millionaire. Vote me out you want to. I just sit at home and bathe in my money. He quote, yeah, I'm going to get very lonely. But he said, yeah, he's going to get very lonely. He talking about, yeah, people ain't going to fool with him that much like that. But he said, again, the consequences are significant. There's, the how you said it. There are enough that it made this a very difficult process for me. There has not been a morning since this process began that I slept beyond 4 a.m. He quote, I agree with him 80% of the time. I don't dislike the president. Wink, wink. We get along fine. But I believe he made a very serious miscalculation or judgment, one that strikes at the very core of our Constitution. End quote. Romney also mentioned that his large family was a concern in making his decision to vote to get convict Trump. Understanding that it is it is possible those say that the senator vote could target those related to him. I have spoken, he Romney quote, I have spoken a good deal with my family because this will have consequences. The blowback will have consequences, not just for me, but for my family, my wife, for my son, for my daughter-in-law, for my 24 grandkids. It shouldn't be putting in work, y'all. 24 grandkids? Well, my grandma had more than that, but the number just sound big when you say it out loud. Wait, did my grandma have that much? I don't know. Rami said that's why the burden has been so substantial, and I done this. But you believe it's right? There was no call to pull back. Oh, gee, Dad, yeah, no, this is going to be tough. They said, do what you believe is right. Rahman was elected to his Utah Senate seat in 2018, meaning he is not up for re-election until 2024. And while likely will be likely to be around Washington for at least a few more years, there is an effort to allow for his recall in Utah state legislation, but it is unlikely to succeed. And even if it does, it could face serious constitutional challenges. Mitt Romney like said, see, that what you know. Mitt Romney, if he ain't in his 70s, he close to being in his 70s. Well, I think he in his 70s. And he don't get off his term for this Senate in 2024, like I just said. So they vote him out. And it man be about close to 80. So it's time for him to sit down. That's just my opinion. Oh, his political future, the senator told White, is that any consequences, he loves saying consequences, don't he? I know I said consequences a whole lot, but I'm glad I know how to say it, know where to read, and what it stands for. Consequences for his vote on impeachment would not be as bad as losing the 2012 president election to Barack Obama, which led Romney to take a 6-year hiatus from running from elected office. So Romney said he is not concerned about the potential fallout from his vote. Like Mitt Romney, like I said earlier, Mitt Romney said, "I don't care, dog. I don't care. Just give me my money and go. I am rich. I sat down for 6 years. I can sit down for the rest of my life now. So y'all don't intimidate me. My name in history. I run Utah." He quote, "I got broad enough shoulders to be able to weather the personal challenge. Wait, weather this personal change in my career, political or otherwise. But what I don't have is the capability. Wait, no, I don't have the capacity to ignore my conscience. What the president did was grievously wrong. And by the way, I said that at the time when I applaud that happening with the economic. I agree with him 80% of the time." He said. I told you what Rick Mick. I told you what Mitt Romney was saying. Mitt said, "I got broad shoulder." Let me translate it for you. Y'all can't do shit to me. y'all ain't got nothing on me. He said, "I got broad enough shoulders to be able to weather this personal change in my career." Like, okay, do what y'all want to do. Y'all not gonna support me, RNC? I don't care. I'll just sit at home and bathe in my millions of dollars and play with my 24 grandchildren. Rodman added, "I don't dislike the president." Okay, I think I read it. No, he said, "I don't dislike the president." One more time. He don't dislike the president. We got along fine. I know him for years and years, well before politics, before either one of us was a politic. But I believe he made a very serious miscalculation of judgment, one that strikes at the very core of the Constitution. Mitt don't mind. He don't mind saying the same thing over, do he? Mm. Goddamn Mitt said he don't care. She said, "How you got to be? That's how you got to be, man. You got to be like." It said in this article right here, President Trump is on the verge of acquittal by the Senate, bringing an end to only the third presidential impeachment trial in American history, in a vote at the start of the tremendous campaign at the White House.
And guilty. Mr. Enzi. Mr. Enzi, not guilty. Ms. Ernst.
Right now,
Ms. Ernst,
they're reading now
not guilty.
the Senate,
Mrs. Feinstein.
one
Mrs.
Senate at a time,
Feinstein, guilty. Mrs.
let them
Fisher.
know
Mrs. Fisher, not
how they
guilty.
feel about him,
Mr. Gardner.
guilty or not guilty.
Mr. Gardner, not guilty. Mrs. Gillibrand.
Like I said earlier,
Mrs. Gillibrand,
there are more
guilty.
Republicans
Mr.
in the
Graham.
Senate right now than
Mr.
Democrats.
Graham, not guilty. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Grassley, not guilty. Ms. Harris. Ms. Harris, guilty.
This breaking news
Ms.
right
Hassan.
now.
Ms.
This
Hassan,
live.
guilty. Mr.
What
Hawley.
we listen to now is live.
Mr. Hawley,
They're voting to see if
not
President Trump
guilty.
will be
Mr. Heinrich.
impeached.
Mr. Heinrich, guilty. Ms. Hirono. Ms. Hirono, guilty. Mr. Hoven. Mr. Hoven, not guilty. Mrs. Hyde Smith. Mrs. Hyde Smith, not guilty.
She said loud
Mr.
and
Inhofe.
proud.
Mr. Inhofe, not guilty. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, not guilty. Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, guilty. Mr. Kane, guilty. Mr. Kennedy,
Once again, what you're listening to
Mr. Kennedy, not
is the
guilty.
Senate
Mr. King,
deciding if they're going to
Mr. King,
find President Trump,
guilty. Ms. Klobuchar,
if they're going to convict
Ms.
President Trump.
Klobuchar, guilty. Mr. Langford, not guilty. Mr. Leahy, guilty. Mr. Lee, not guilty. Mrs. Leffler, not guilty. Mr. Manchin, guilty. Mr. Markey, guilty. Mr. McConnell, not guilty.
Is
Miss
it me?
McSally,
Or
Miss
do it sound like,
McSally, not guilty.
it sound like more guilty than not guilty?
Mr. Menendez,
Might be just me.
Mr. Menendez, guilty. Mr.
Oh,
Merkley, guilty. Mr. Moran, not guilty. Miss Murkowski, not guilty. Mr. Murphy, guilty. Mrs. Murray, guilty. Mr. Paul, not guilty. Mr. Purdue, not guilty. Mr. Peters, guilty. Mr. Portman, not guilty. Mr. Reed, guilty. Mr. Risch, not guilty. Mr. Roberts, not guilty. Mr. Romney, guilty. Ms. Rosen,
Mitt Romney wasn't lying, was
Ms.
he?
Rosen,
He said he gonna find him guilty.
Mr. Rounds,
He just said guilty.
not guilty. Mr. Rubio, not guilty.
That's the
Mr.
senator of Florida right there.
Mr. Sanders, guilty. Mr. Sass,
Bernie said guilty.
not guilty. Mr. Schatz, guilty. Mr. Schumer, guilty. Mr. Scott of Florida, not guilty. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, not guilty. Mrs. Shaheen, guilty. Mr. Shelby, not guilty. Ms. Sinema, guilty. Ms. Smith,
You know, the last time we had a
guilty.
president up for
Stabenow.
impeachment, it was in the
Stabenow.
1990s,
Guilty.
way before
Mr.
internet
Sullivan.
was affordable.
Mr. Sullivan,
The internet was around,
not
but
guilty.
it was in the military.
Mr. Tester,
Huh.
Mr. Tester,
I remember my first time in,
guilty.
I think
Mr.
in
Thune,
1995,
Mr.
1996, when I
Thune.
went in the Navy.
not
The
guilty.
guy said,
Mr. Tillis,
I'm about to send my wife an
Mr.
email.
Tillis,
Man, I was
not
so damn
guilty.
stupid.
Mr. Toomey.
I sent her an email.
Mr. Toomey,
I'm sitting here with some paper
not
about to
guilty.
write somebody.
Mr. Udall, guilty. Mr. Van Hollen, guilty. Mr. Warner, guilty. Ms. Warren, guilty. Mr. Whitehouse, guilty. Mr. Wicker, not guilty. Mr. Wyden, guilty. Mr. Young, not guilty.
I don't know, did I lose audio? God darn. Or is he tatting up the rope? No. They still there. I think he's tatting up the vote right now. We'll see soon, or we'll hear soon. But it sounds like a whole bunch of guilties to me. President Trump, he like he ain't bothered.
President of the United States.
Oh man. The video's still going on, but I think they just counting the votes, if I'm not mistaken.
This article of impeachment, 48 senators have pronounced Donald John Trump, President of the United States, guilty as charged. 52 senators have pronounced him not guilty as charged. Two-thirds.
I think the video, this time the video for. Well, as you seen, as you just heard, 48 said guilty, 52 said not guilty.
House of Representatives, pursuant to its sole power of impeachment, President Trump
Come on, baby. The buffing thing.
has abused the powers of the presidency in a manner offensive to and subversive of the Constitution, in that the House of Representatives has engaged in an impeachment inquiry focused on President Trump's corrupt solicitation of the government of Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 United States presidential election. As part of this impeachment inquiry, the committees undertaking the investigation served subpoenas seeking documents and testimony deemed vital to the inquiry from various executive branch agencies and offices and current and former officials. In response, without lawful cause or excuse, President Trump directed executive branch agencies, offices, and officials not to comply with those subpoenas. President Trump thus interposed the powers of the presidency against the lawful subpoenas of the House of Representatives and assumed to himself functions to the exercise of the sole power of impeachment vested by the Constitution in the House of Representatives. President Trump abused the powers of his high office through the following means. 1. Directing the White House to defy a lawful subpoena by withholding the production of documents sought.
Right now, we're listening to the Senate.
Therein by the committees. 2. Directing other executive branch agencies and offices to
Making
defy
a
lawful
decision
subpoenas
they're
and
gonna
withhold
quit,
the production of
convict
documents
Donald Trump,
and records from the
or
committees,
say
in
he good.
response to which the Department of State, Office of Management and Budget, Department of Energy, and Department of Defense refused to produce. 3. Directing current and former executive branch officials not to cooperate with the committees, in response to which 9 administration officials defied subpoenas for testimony, namely John Michael Mick Mulvaney, Robert B. Blair, John A. Eisenberg, Michael Ellis, Kristen Wells Griffith, Russell T. Vaught,
Yeah,
Michael Duffy,
I was
Brian
surprised
McCormick,
Romney
and
made
T.
that step.
Ulrich Reckbull. These
But
actions
Romney,
were consistent with President Trump's
he don't like
previous
President
efforts
Trump.
to undermine United States government investigations into foreign interference in United States elections. Through these actions, President Trump sought to arrogate to himself the right to determine the propriety, scope, and nature of an impeachment inquiry into his own conduct, as well as the unilateral prerogative to deny any and all information to the House of Representatives in the exercise of its sole power of impeachment. In the history of the Republic, no president has ever ordered the complete defiance of an impeachment inquiry or sought to obstruct and impede so comprehensively the ability of the House of Representatives to investigate high crimes and misdemeanors. This abuse of office served to cover up the president's own repeated misconduct and to seize and control the power of impeachment, and thus to nullify a vital constitutional safeguard vested solely in the House of Representatives. In all of this, President Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of the constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice, and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore, President Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, and has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States.
The question is on the second article of impeachment. Senators, how say you? Is the respondent Donald John Trump guilty or not guilty? The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander. Not guilty. Ms. Baldwin. Guilty. Mr. Barrasso. Not guilty. Mr. Bennett. Guilty. Mrs. Blackburn. Not guilty.
Last time,
Mr. Blumenthal.
the other one was 48, 52.
Guilty. Mr. Blunt.
I'm expecting the same thing
Not guilty.
to be on this one
Mr.
too.
Booker.
So I'm about to end this
Guilty.
live screen because my daughter
Mr.
about to get out of
Bozeman.
school. She go to college.
Not guilty.
Well, take a college class.
Mr. Braun.
And it's thunder and storm.
Not guilty.
You know, in the South,
Mr. Brown.
when it's thunder and lightning, everything's supposed to go off.
Mr. Burr.
Well, at least in my time, that's how I
Not
grew up.
guilty.
So,
Ms.
thank you for
Cantwell.
watching this video.
Guilty.
Subscribe,
Mrs. Capito.
like, hit the notification
Not
bell,
guilty.
hit the share button,
Mr. Cardin.
hit the dislike. You know, just come on
Guilty.
in.
Mr.
Tell me
Carper.
what you don't like. Tell me what you like.
Guilty.
So I'm about to go
Mr.
ahead and end the
Casey.
screen. My one good person. I so
Guilty.
appreciate you, man.
Mr.
Lady.
Cassidy.
I so appreciate y'all. Now, I hope
Not
y'all have a
guilty.
good evening.
Ms. Collins.
It's 4:26 in the
Not
on
guilty.
the East Coast,
Mr. Coons.
and by the time
Guilty.
she get to reading this,
Mr. Cornyn.
uh,
Not guilty. Ms. Cortez Masto.
by the time she get through reading this, it could be like
Guilty.
4:32 or
Mr.
something like
Cotton.
that. So take care.
Not guilty. Mr.
I'm gonna go
Kramer.
ahead I'm gonna go ahead and say this
Not
before this
guilty.
over
Mr.
with.
Crapo.
Donald Trump will be acquitted.
Not guilty.
Well, I'm gonna
Mr. Not guilty.
respect his
James.
position in office. President Trump will
Not
be
guilty. Ms.
acquitted.
Duckworth.
I'll talk to you later. Y'all be safe
Guilty.
out there.
Mr. Durbin.
Have a great day.
Guilty. Mr. Enzi. Not guilty. Ms. Ernst.